So, you're not spiritually empty, you're spiritually hungry. Maybe the very fact that you're questioning God is evidence He's already drawing you. But what if there's something even deeper going on? What if the questions and the longing and the spiritual hunger we experience are evidence of another dimension of our design? Have you ever wondered why you even care about these questions? Like, why are you searching? Why you're watching a video like this one? Why you feel there's something more? What if woven into every human life is both a natural design and a spiritual imprint, like a cord of three strands, body, mind, and the spiritual presence of the one who created both? Three dimensions of the same life, intertwined, interconnected, influencing one another, not separate, not competing, but woven together from the very beginning, revealing something about who we are and whose we are. We talk about DNA as the blueprint of our natural identity. You know, the double helix thingy, the information that shapes how our bodies develop, how they function, and even some of the traits that make us uniquely ourselves. And sometimes I wonder, what if we're more like a triple helix? What if that cord of three strands is actually our DNA? The real wonder is also, why does the spirit keep reaching for something beyond itself? And here's what fascinates me. I have no trouble believing I inherited things from my family. For years, I wondered why I walked like a duck. No, really, I'm not kidding. Well, not like a full-on cartoon kind of duck, but just enough so that people who know me right now are probably nodding. Yeah, she walks like a duck. Then at my wedding, I watched my grandmother as she walked down the aisle in front of me, and there it was, right in front of me. The same walk, the same sway, and that little waddle I do. And I remember thinking, well, that explains it. So I also remembered there's nothing changed. I wasn't suddenly walking differently. Recognition happened. The explanation arrived. No argument required, no proof required. I just saw what I saw and knew what I knew and went on from there. So why can't I do that with spiritual DNA? Why is it so easy for me to recognize physical design and difficult to recognize the possibility of divine design? If I can accept that invisible information passed down through generations helped shape who I am down to my feet, why is it so hard to imagine the one who created me might have something woven into me as well? Something that keeps drawing me, something calling me to more. Maybe that's why Scripture says, as the deer pants for streams of water, so my soul pants for you, O God. The deer doesn't create thirst. Thirst reveals that water to quench it exists. Thirst reveals that water to quench it exists. And perhaps, just like that, your longing for God isn't evidence that He's absent from you. Perhaps it's evidence He's already speaking to you. So, if we haven't met yet, I'm Susan Price Thompson, and I help people move from chaos to clarity through discernment, healing, and recognizing what God, helping you recognize that God is already moving in your life, not just from studying it, but through living through trauma, grief, loss, betrayal, healing, hard questions, and the kind of transformation that changes the way you see everything. And trust me, I didn't learn all that from a Pinterest quote. I learned this the hard way, several hard ways actually. Turns out God can use your grief, your problems, your bad decisions, your heartbreak, and occasionally your own perfectionism, procrastination, and plain old stubbornness. Every breath you take is literal proof that you're already being sustained by the presence that you're looking for. Because deep down, every human being carries that longing to know and be known by God. to find something greater than themselves and recognize it as home. That's who I am. That yearning was placed there on purpose because humans are pre-wired for God. The ache is the evidence. The longing itself points somewhere. Perhaps you've been trying to hear God from the wrong direction while He's been forming you from within right under your nose all along. We do all understand how physical DNA works. Every parent and ancestor contributes traits, features, tendencies, uniqueness, and makes us unlike anyone else. Maybe being made in His image creates its own kind of DNA, its own kind of divine imprint too. That's not random, it's not generic, but intentionally purposeful, with specific traits, specific callings, specific ways He's going to use you, and specific ways His nature reflects through each life, as though God authored every soul, because He does, with distinct purpose woven into its design. Spiritual DNA, meant to reveal something unique about Him through you, because no two lives carry that image in exactly the same way. So perhaps the real invitation here isn't to reinvent yourself, it's to see clearly enough to recognize who you truly are, where God's leading you, and why you're here. Beneath the fear, beneath the performance, beneath the survival versions of yourself you've built just to make it through. Because supernatural seeing isn't pretending to be something greater than human. It's having the courage to realize that you need to be vulnerable enough to see yourself honestly, to recognize that DNA of God woven into your design, your longing, your discernment, your story with your aches and pains. Not as accidents, not as random personality traits, but as clues. Maybe it's leading you to recognize that the God who's been forming and drawing and revealing Himself is within you. Maybe that's why once you begin to recognize that presence, you want more of it, not out of fear, not out of religious pressure at all, but because something inside you finally feels alive. Because the more clearly you see yourself, the more clearly you recognize your dependence on the one who's been sustaining you all along. Even while you are searching, questioning, grasping for meaning, making mistakes, you make connection, get purpose, find your identity. Scripture says we grope for Him, not because He is hiding, but because something deep within us already knows He's there. And maybe part of spiritual growth is learning to fan that flame within us, to pay attention to what brings life, to notice what increases your peace, what increases your clarity, your love, your truth, and discernment. To become quiet enough to recognize what your spirit already responds to. Because the more you walk with Him, talk with Him, the more natural His presence becomes. And eventually, what once felt mysterious begins to feel familiar. So if this resonates with you, stay with me, because in the next video, we're going to explore a question that changed my life. How do you recognize the design God has already placed within you? Because I didn't just wake up one day and decide, hey, I think I'll help people move from chaos to clarity. That is not how it happened. What I eventually discovered was that the clues had been there all along. The things that moved me, the things that broke my heart, the things I couldn't stop seeing. And maybe that's true for you too. Maybe the evidence of who you are has been showing up your entire life. You just haven't recognized it yet. And that's where we're headed next. If this helped you, like, subscribe, share it with somebody, or leave a comment about what resonated most. And of course, if you're struggling to see clearly or trying to understand what God may be trying to awaken within you, reach out to me at susan@icanseeyou.org, because sometimes we just need someone else to help us recognize what's already there. Until next time, keep learning to see and let yourself be seen. And on that note, I'll see you soon.